my friends, how are you? I hope you are fine. I am good, thank God. This Tuesday we are going to read chapter 14 of Genesis. But before, I would like to recall everything that we have already read. I did some notes here, not to forget anything. And we are doing this review now before reading the chapter 14, okay? So in Genesis 1, in the beginning, we saw the creation of the universe, the nature, the animals, the earth, the planet, and the humankind. Then we had the first sin, which was the disobedience of Eve. She ate a fruit that she was not supposed to, and her disobedience with Adam was the reason why they were requested to leave the garden. Then God closed the Garden of Eden, and Adam and Eve reproduce. When they left the garden, their descendants were Cain and Abel. Then we had the second sin, which was this murder. Cain killed his brother Abel because he was jealous of the offer he gave to God, which pleased him more. So he got upset and killed his brother. As they reproduced, Abel died, and he didn't have sons and daughters. But Cain had his descendants. And as the humankind were developing, were reproducing, God saw that they were very evil. They were wicked. You know, I can't imagine. I don't know if I can imagine what they were able to do at that point. But God was so sorry, and He regret creating the humankind because of these wicked humans that were alive. They did things that were very, very evil. And God regretted, He had created, He regretted His creation and said, I will kill everybody drowned. And God sent the flood. Everything that was alive died except for Noah, which was the only man that had a good heart on earth. And for that reason, God spared him and his family. God commanded him to build a boat, and inside the boat he took some samples of animals to reproduce after, and he sent the flood. After the flood was over, he did a covenant with Noah. Actually, he did this covenant in the person of Noah, but this covenant was with the humans, with men. And this covenant was about not destroying humanity using water. The symbol of this covenant is the rainbow, and the rainbow that we see nowadays when it's raining, and when we see the rainbow, God says in His word that He remembers this covenant with Noah, and He remembers that He will never again destroy the humanity drowning the earth. Uh, I don't know if he could do this in another way, like with fire or anything. I think that in our society today, we are witnessing many ugly things, not to say worst. And I don't know what God is going to do with us. But, well, we are here to be better persons. We are trying to learn more from Him. So I hope none of us will suffer anything of that. I hope. Okay, so God did this covenant with, made this covenant with Noah. The flood was over, and Noah's sons reproduced. His sons filled the earth of people, and these people decided to build a tower which would reach the sky. God was not pleased with that, because I think it was a sign that they were thinking they were able to talk, to be linked to God through something made with their hands. But we know that the only way to have this relationship with God is accepting Jesus Christ, acknowledging that He's His Son, and that He suffered all that sacrifice in the cross for us, just in order of making humans be again related to God. So when this situation happened, the situation of the Tower of Babylon, the people spoke just one language, and God decided to mess up with them and create different languages, because if they were speaking only one language, what would us suppose, imagine that we are able to do? So he messed up with us and created the languages and the different cultures, the different traditions. When these languages were created in the Tower of Babylon, God scattered all over the earth those peoples that were there. All the nations. This is something very interesting to note, because we see here that after the flood, all the nations of the earth descended from Noah's sons. Noah's sons were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And these three sons of Noah, we will see in the next chapter. Actually, we already saw Abram, right? We read already. Abram. He was of the lineage of Shem. I think Shem was the oldest son of Noah. If I'm not right, please correct me in the comments. But Abram is of Shem's lineage. So the lineage is Noah, Shem, Arpachshad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, and Abram. So Abram's father was Terah. Terah had three sons, Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran Haran was Abram's brother, and Haran had a son, Lot. So Lot was Abram's nephew. I'm talking about Lot because Lot was the nephew, was the person that got really close to Abram, and they actually walked the way to Canaan together. We will see that they separated. Actually, I think that we already read this chapter. It was chapter 10. No, 13. Yeah, last chapter. They separated because there were some misunderstandings, and each one went to their sides. Genesis 14. Abram rescue Lot. 4 kings, Amraphel of Babylon, Arioch of Elasar, Chedorlaomer of Elam, and Tidal of Goem, went to war against 5 other kings: Bera of Sodom, Bersha of Gomorrah, Shinab of Admah, Shemeber of Zeboim, and the king of Bela or Zoar. These 5 kings formed an alliance and joined forces in Siddim Valley, which is now the Dead Sea. They had been under the control of Chedorlaomer for 12 years. But in the 13th year, they rebelled against him. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and his allies came with their armies and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in the plain of Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the mountains of Edom, pursuing them as far as El Paran on the edge of the desert. Then they turned around and came back to Kadesh, then known as En-Mishpat. They conquered all the land of the Amalekites and defeated the Amorites who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela drew up their armies for battle in Siddim Valley and fought against the kings of Elam, Goen, Babylonia, and Elazar, 5 kings against 4. The valley was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah tried to run away from the battle, they fell into the pits. But other 3 kings escaped to the mountains. The 4 kings took everything in Sodom and Gomorrah, including the food, and went away. Lot, Abram's nephew, was living in Sodom, so they took him and all his possessions. But a man escaped and reported all this to Abram, the Hebrew, who was living near the sacred trees belonging to Mamre the Amorite. Mamre and his brothers Eshcol and Aner were Abram's allies. When Abram heard that his nephew had been captured, he called together all the fighting men in his camp, 318 in all, and pursued the 4 kings all the way to Dan. There he divided his men into groups, attacked the enemy by night, and defeated them. He chased them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus, and got back all the loot that had been taken. He also brought back his nephew Lot and his possessions together with the women and the other prisoners. I would like to have an uncle like that. Very strong. Melchizedek blesses Abram. When Abram came back from his victory over Chedorlaomer and the other kings, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in Shaved Valley, also called King's Valley. And Melchizedek, who was king of Salem, and also a priest of the Most High God, brought bread and wine to Abram. Verse 18, I will say something about it. Okay, I will read it again. And Melchizedek, who was king of Salem and also a priest of the Most High God, brought bread and wine to Abram, blessed him, and said, May the Most High God, who made heaven and earth, bless Abram. May the Most High God, who gave you victory over your enemies, be praised. And Abram gave Melchizedek 1/10 of all the loot he had recovered. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Keep the loot, but give me back all my people. Abram answered, I solemnly swear before the Lord, the Most High God, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not keep anything of yours, not even a thread or a sandal strap. Then you can never say, I am the one who made Abram rich. I will take nothing for myself. I will accept only what my men have used. But let my allies Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre take their share. Regarding the verse 18, this verse is so mysterious because if we go to Hebrews, I will read. Let me find the verse. In Hebrew 7, look what it says about Melchizedek. Hebrews 7 verse 1. This Melchizedek was king of Salem and a priest of the Most High God. As Abraham was coming back from the battle in which he defeated the 4 kings, Melchizedek met him and blessed him. And Abraham gave him 1/10 of all he had taken. The first meaning of Melchizedek's name is King of Righteousness. And because he was king of Salem, his name also means King of Peace. There is no record of Melchizedek's father or mother, or of any of his ancestors, no record of his birth or of his death. He is like the Son of God. He remains a priest forever. Are you thinking what I am thinking? Well, would this Melchizedek, when Abram won the war, was this Melchizedek like a representation of Jesus Christ? Like representing that, like a person in the present, which represents what Jesus would be in the future. I would compare this to Moses, for example, which in history is the person who came to the Hebrews and saved them from the slavery in Egypt. And Moses represents Jesus when he comes and set us free from the slavery of the sin. So I will leave this in the air. I would like to know what you think. I think this is very interesting, and I even can't find words to say that this is something very interesting. Do you think this Melchizedek would be Jesus? There are some experts in theology that advocate this idea, that Melchizedek would be Jesus, because this Melchizedek had no records on history, no mother, no father, no nothing, and he was the person who Abram gave the tenth of what he got from this war. We have this commandment of giving the 10th part of what we earn. I don't know. I would like to hear from you what you think. In any case, I believe that God is able of anything. So if God sent Melchizedek as Jesus, I would accept that. I understand that God is able of anything. So this was chapter 14. Let's move on to chapter 15.